tough nut to crack. It was springtime on the island of New Florida, and the trains on the tracks were being really useful as usual to bring passengers, freight, and concept products of where they need to go. Steam locomotives were operating like usual, like in the olden days, because they were being the best ones ever. And that's what was making them really useful indeed. Amtrak was doing a good job in the countryside too, because it was carrying passengers from city to city in the countryside with its passengers on board. Whatever cars make up the consist, Amtrak can be really useful with its stuff to make up for lost time while they are running late. Alexia, the woman train, was hauling a train of diapers to the yard. She shunted the diaper cars into place, and Randy buffered up to them. And she moved them into the siding. People need a lot of diapers, puffed Alexia. They sure do, puffed Randy. The next day, Sasha was pulling the overnight limited express on her way to Wunsingaff Union Station. She was being really useful. Express coming through, Sasha said, and she clattered along the main line with her coaches. But then there was trouble. Nolan and Mevy were parked in a siding, and the points were jammed because faulty. And Misha was fast approaching with her train. Coming through, said Misha. Sasha's driver slammed on her brakes. But it was too late! Not this again! Well, Mevy. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the crash was catastrophic. Coaches had tipped onto their side and... I'm sorry, moaned Mevy. Sorry indeed, Nolan said. I can't get out of this Amfleet, said Mevy. I'm sorry too, moaned Sasha. Just then, a passenger train came into view. It was on its way to New York City. But the observation and other sleeper cars on Sasha's train stayed on the tracks. Alexia, the woman locomotive, met 8 new engines known as Amelia, Angie, Connie, Carmen, Abby, Celine, Shauna, and Leah. "It's nice to meet you," they said. "We have an important job to do," they all said at the same time. And they steamed into the countryside. "This is how you are really useful," said Amelia. And it was late in the afternoon, and the Superliner cars on their goods train clattered along. And then some passengers had dinner in the dining car. And a few hours later, it was bedtime. And everyone went to sleep at once. While the clicking of the rails went under the bogies. And then it was midnight. "Choo-choo!" they all said at the same time. And then there was a shooting star! "Let's make a wish," all the 8 engines said at the same time. "I wish for a new engine." But they weren't going to say it out loud, because the train was very long. Early the next morning, it was time for breakfast. And the passengers enjoyed their breakfast in the dining car. But because the train was really long, all 8 engines on an octuple header curled around the curve. And then it was lovely in the observation car. And then the passengers saw the whole train way ahead. It was massive. And then the engines curled around another curve. Meanwhile, a passenger train was making its way to Winter Park, Colorado, and then the crossing gates began to come down, and the train clattered over. It had to stop at a signal for the big mega train. Finally, the 8 engines arrived on time. A freight train full of hazardous materials was going over the mountain when the coupling on the first car snapped and the wagons rolled away with their hazardous materials. Amelia was surprised. "Bust my buffers," they said. "Those cars are going way too fast." And then she chased after them. She applied her brakes and she stopped too quickly. And then the nuclear alarm went off. It was too late. When Dwee saw the accident, she was surprised. No one had been hurt or killed, but rocks and dirt had fallen everywhere. "I'm sorry about this," moaned Amelia. "The stone will be loaded in my freight car soon," puffed Dwee. "It's hard to get out of here." "A tough nut to crack," snapped Jaden. "Let's not stay here, Dwee." After Amelia was repaired, she told James all about her trailing units. "We have lots of new engines," she said. "Really useful as I hope," said James. "I was right," said Alexia. "Solving problems can be a tough nut to crack, but I'll do better in the future."